and welcome to my channel. Today I thought I would show how I repurpose books into my own personal mixed media art journals. This is how I started. I didn't start making junk journals for a couple years after I had started into this whole art journaling world. So my process is very simple. I recently repurposed a book, so I thought I would show how I did that. I'm kind of going backwards because I already started, but I didn't think about filming it until later, recording it, I mean. So this is the book that I decided on a whim, kind of on a whim, to start repurposing. And I'll show you exactly how I did it. And then I'll show you some other examples of other books that I use. So I'm going to put this one to the side, and I'm going to show you what that book looked like before I started. It looked something like this. I used to be into decorating, and I loved buying beautiful coffee table books. But recently I'm more into downsizing, and I have donated a lot of books, and I've designated some books along the way to be my art journals. I know some people don't like doing that with books, and I appreciate the feeling, because I love books too, but I just, I have loads and loads of them. If they're special to me, I don't tear them apart. I don't make them into journals. I have bookcases full of books, so I do still love books. So having said that, I don't need as many books on decorating and those coffee table type books anymore. I had lots of them, several of them, many. And so this is an example of what that other book I just showed you looked like before, except that it has a shiny cover. So the first thing I do when I'm repurposing the books is I will take, you know how this first page is kind of always sturdy, or the first and last page of a book. I usually take that page, and it's somehow like always stuck more to this second page. So I will take that, oh, I have a glue stick out already. Hello. I will take those two pages and glue them together with my glue stick. I use a glue stick because I find it to be easier, and it buckles less than wet glue, and I haven't had any problems with the glue stick working so far. And if it starts to come undone in the corners, like sometimes it does, maybe I didn't spread it on enough, I just glue the corners back together. So just make sure you have good coverage everywhere, and then you just glue down your page. That's the way I start out. And I will turn it this way. Look what a gorgeous picture that is. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I do look at the page and decide whether I want to keep the picture or not. But anyway, this one is, of course, because I'm recording, not a good example because it buckled a bit. But usually they don't do that. Anyway, you got the idea. So the type of mixed media I do is kind of messy and grungy. I don't worry about things like that. I don't worry about being a little bit messy. So then those two pages are very sturdy. Then I will take the next page and flip it over and decide how many pages I'm going to take out in between. I usually just tear them right out, because for me it's easier, and then I'll show you how you hide that. And now I usually do 2 pages, but you could do 3 also. Depends on how thick you think your book is going to get. So then you just do the same thing. You glue the pages together, and when you do that, then this torn part will be hidden. And again, if it's a little bit messy, or a little bit bumpy or textury, that doesn't bother me at all. When I first started doing this, I watched a lot of videos on how to do this. I was very worried about doing it the right way, and I found out over time I got more comfortable doing it, and there's no really right or wrong way, how to do this. You just do it the way you want to. But I would suggest, if you don't like a kind of messy, go fly. Here's another gorgeous picture, flying by the seat of your pants kind of way. Then, you know, Google other, or you look at other YouTube people who have other methods of doing this, because that's what I did. I looked at several different methods and ways of doing it, and I've done it different ways, but this one, you know, is really kind of bothering me. That's a lot of crinkly, but I'm going to cover this at the end, and I'll show you how I do that. Ugh, it annoys me that that happened while I'm recording, but oh well, that's the way it goes. So you go on like that. You flip a page over, and then you tear out 2 or 3 pages in between, and you keep gluing. Now that's a cool photograph, so that'll be nice to have that torn out to use for something else. And you can also use, you know, a cutting tool to cut out your pages. I used to do that too, and then I thought, ugh, I'm just gonna tear them because I'm lazy. Oh my gosh, my glue stick's falling apart. Let me get a new glue stick, because I'm kind of lazy, and this is quicker and easier for me. And since you don't see this torn part, it doesn't really bother me, and it's quick. And this is kind of, you know, for me, gluing and tearing stuff is kind of like a bit of meditation. You just don't have to think, and you just sit and do it. You could be watching something on TV. Sometimes I listen to audiobooks while I'm doing this. It's a little bit meditative. So you proceed like that through the book. And I flatten it from each side to, you know, kind of start getting it, I mean, to try to make it a little, you know, not quite as messy. So I keep going through the book, go through the whole book like that. At the end, if you end up like, you know, with some extra pages or whatever, just, you know, you can just tear out extras, or just, you know, work it out so that you come out, you know, at the end, it works out like it's supposed to, if that makes any sense. Okay, so the next thing I do is, I do this as I go along actually. In between the pages, I put some masking tape, because now you don't have to do this, but I like to do it because if I use wet mediums like inks and stuff like that, it will seep in. If you use a lot of it, it could seep into this middle part, and it will also stain the pages in between. And the other reason I do it is because it does kind of hold your book together a little bit better. If you know, when you get to working in your book and it gets fatter and chunkier, it does put a strain on the spine. So then I would cut this off, you know, make it a little bit neater. But again, I don't worry about it being, I don't worry about being extra super cautious. I just trim it like that, and I do that for every page. And again, you know, I try to be as neat as possible. I always end up with creases and stuff like that. And this doesn't show up, at least for me, when I do my pages, very much. If that bothers you, don't use the tape. Just leave it like that. And then you can stop after you do this gluing and taping, but I also like to then prepare my pages before I have done it with gesso, and then my pages are ready to work on. But I will show you another process that I did on this book. I'll go back to this one, and that is that I had some extra paint, so I used that instead of gesso because I just didn't want to get rid of it. So I thought, well, why not, you know, paint. Gesso is kind of like paint, so I'll use paint. And that's what I did. I painted the pages, and then I actually gel printed on them. And I'll show you a little bit of how I did that. So I went through this whole book, and I did that in the whole book. So these pages are ready to be worked on. They're not blank white pages, and somehow that inspires me more. I don't know how to just explain it, but I know if you watch other videos of people doing mixed media, they have said the same thing, where if you start on a page like this, maybe it's not as intimidating as if you were staring at two blank white pages. So I started out by, hopefully this is making sense. So I started out with a book like this. I tore out the pages. I glued them together. This one I actually did not glue together. I don't know why. I can't make this book too thick because I didn't do that. But I did put the tape in between. You can see it a little bit in there. But anyway, the other thing I want to say about this is just because this background is pink and beige, that doesn't mean that I'm going to keep this pink and beige. I may, because one day usually what I do is I look through my book and I say, oh, I think I want to work on this page. It just kind of inspires me. I don't know how to explain it except that it just does. Sometimes it's the colors or the patterns. Sometimes I just gesso over all of this and just start anew. So this book is mostly ready to go, except for some reason I worked on this over a few days, and for some reason I got tired and I didn't do anything in the last 3 pages. So I thought I would show you how I gel printed those other pages. It's really very simple, but it's another idea. Like, you could leave your page like this and start working on it, or you know, if this was gesso, it would be the same thing. But I like to, I don't know, I like to have these colors there already. These color combos are not the greatest, I have to admit. This is not that great for me, but it might all get covered up. You never know. I never know what I'm gonna do. I just did it one day. One day I tore the pages and taped and everything, and then another day I painted them with this beige paint, and then another day I did the gel printing. And at some point I got tired of the painting the beige paint, because that took a while, and I just started gel printing directly onto the pages of the book. And you can see that where I didn't put the beige paint, and the pictures from the book are there in the background as I got. You can see the writing on the background. Sometimes I like to see that too. And so there's a picture and the writing from the book. So you can do it, you know, many different ways, but I will show you. I will be right back. I'm going to get my gel printing stuff out, and I'll be back and show you how I did those other pages on these pages. Before I show you my gel printing process that I did on the other book, I thought I would show you the book that I made, the art journal I made out of a book previously, and I used the exact same technique. This book started out looking just like that other book I showed you, the purple cover one, that I'm going to that I did the gel printing on. It started out looking very, very similar to this book. I tore the pages out, I taped, and I did everything. Look how chunky that is. And I tore pages out, and the cover fell off, or started falling off, so I just took it off. I finished this book pretty much, and I decorated the cover. Here's the front, and here's the back. But I haven't attached it yet, because for a while I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it. So then I just put it to the side and kind of forgot about it, but I will go back to it and attach the cover. So I wanted to show you how the pages look now that I have worked on them. And so these are just some of the pages, and a lot of these look nothing like they started out, how they started out. I don't know if you can see that, but you can see the tape in this one in the middle. Normally I don't even notice that. And so again, you can see how I started out with pages that honestly look like the other pages I showed you, with the gel printing and sometimes the weird color combos and everything. But this is an example of where I pretty much covered up most of the background. So you just never know what you're gonna do. I never know what I'm gonna do. And sometimes you can see the backgrounds peeking through. So again, here is an example of a book, and I don't know that you could tell without me telling you that this used to be a coffee table book. So that is what my book is going to look like after I finish working on it. Okay, so I will show you my gel printing technique next. Okay, so for this book, I grabbed two sizes of gel plates that I have. This is a 6x6, and then this little one is, I don't see the size, but it's probably like a 4x3. No, that doesn't sound right, but it's obviously smaller. So anyway, I have different sizes of gel plates. I randomly picked these two to work in this book. Why, I don't know. I just did. And what I did was, I have to clean my brayer because it's almost getting stuck with so much paint. What I did, and I brought out a bunch of different colors of paint, and I'm just gonna show you, whoops, I always put too much paint on the gel plate. I will put, I put 1 or 2 colors. I'll just do 1 color right now to show you. You brayer it out. My brayer isn't working that great because it has too much paint built up. When it gets to that point, I do have to clean it. I hate to say. But I just brayered out my paint. I have a piece of paper to the side to brayer off the extra paint that I have so it doesn't go to waste, and use that paper later for something else. I use, this is actually a, like a kitchen mat. What do you call those things? Trivets. And it makes great texture. And you can even use it on your gel plate like that, and then you can just use it like a stamp kind of thing. So that's pretty cool. So I'll just do that. I do it very randomly because, again, this is probably going to be all covered up at some point, or most of it. So this is what I did. I just went through and gel printed like this. You know, I don't know why I did kind of like to do corner to corner kind of thing, but I also did it in the middle. Made sure to get all the paint off of there. It's quite a bit, as you can see. Then I switched over to my little mini plate. Oh, here's the size, 3x5. And I switched over to my mini plate, and let's use this blue because green and pink. I'll use the green. I'll use the green. I did this one afternoon. I worked in this whole book one afternoon, and I just was watching a movie by myself and just randomly picking colors, not thinking too much about it. And it was kind of, again, very relaxing, and it was a happy way to spend an afternoon for me, even though I have a lot of other projects I should be working on, but oh well. This is something else. I have this really cool bubble wrap. You can use any kind of bubble wrap, of course, but this one makes a cool print, a little bit different. So then I just went through and, you know, decided, like, I don't know, maybe I'll gel print this here. I don't think I have enough paint on my plate this time, but you get the idea. So that's how I created the backgrounds of this book. I didn't worry too much about the colors because, again, they might all get covered up. And so I just picked 2 or 3 colors. I had a lot of different items to make texture with and marks, you know, like the circular things. And I had some stamps that I used even. I used art foamies, if you've ever heard of those. I probably shouldn't even mention them because then if somebody doesn't know what they are, I have to explain. But anyway, that's how I created all of these backgrounds. There you can see that same bubble wrap that I used. So again, just randomly, I set out all my paints and just without even thinking too much about it. That's how I created this background, these backgrounds. Okay. Once again, I'll say that if you start working on your book, I had to put extra tape on this page because it was already cracking in the middle, because turns out this paint isn't maybe as good as gesso would be. I don't know, but anyway, I needed extra protection there. But okay, so if you don't want to do this gel printing, you don't have a gel plate, or you just don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. I'm just showing you a way that I like to get a book prepared to be inspired. But having said that, I will also now share with you some other books that I have made into art journals, and I didn't do it exactly the same way as I just showed you. This is a little book that I found in an antique store, and it was really small, so I thought it would be cute to work on it and I'd be able to finish it. I did do the same process with the pages. I tore pages out and I glued them together. They already had this nice deckled edge, so that was good. I liked that. And this book I was able to finish working in it. I didn't prepare it any way other than gluing the pages together. And I used tape on this one too. I used tape on most of my journals that I repurposed. So I didn't prepare it in any other way at that time. And then what I did, oh, my book is coming apart. Oh no, I have to glue that back together. And then at the end, I like to decorate the cover and the inside pages. I used scrapbook paper on the inside. And then I just decorated the cover with a little bit of modeling paste, if you can see that through a stencil. I put this little metal piece on and black gesso. And then I used some sparkly sprays. You can't see the sparkle that much, but you can see it a little bit in there. And you know, I added this little eyelet and the ribbon. So that's another way. I like the way that turned out, and I was happy to finish it because I have so many journals, I hardly ever finish one. And then this is another early journal of mine. Same thing, it was a children's book actually, and I glued the pages, tore some pages out, glued pages together. This is a very early journal of mine, and I don't like a lot of the pages, but you know, it's good to go back sometimes and look at stuff that you did before. I do like some of them, like this one, I still like a lot. But it's good to see the way I've evolved, you know, and changed my style a bit. And it's fun to go back and look at them. But anyway, I put some paper on the front and back. I decorated the cover, and I have a finished journal. And then finally, let me move these out of the way. Finally, I have my son's high school chemistry composition notebook. And I decided to use this one day, and I used it as a place to brayer off or stencil off extra paint that I had. So that's how this book started. You can see what a mess this is, right? So someday I'll work on that page. Here's a page. Make sure I'm in focus in the camera. This is a page that I did work on and finished. I covered up almost the whole background. It didn't look anything like this. And then I'll show you some other pages. I just recently worked on that one. And this is how they look. They're just kind of a mess. You can see some of his notes in the background from chemistry class. And, you know, they're kind of a mess. But again, some of this may show through, but a lot of it will be covered up. And here's the background I made, but I didn't finish it. And here's another kind of mess. You know, some of these pages are just a total hot mess. Again, it's not a big issue. So that's how these pages look. And what I did with this one, I did not tear any pages out because, like I said, look at this. That one's not so bad. Look at this awful mess. But I'll turn that into something good, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, what I did with this book is I skipped 2 pages and then glued all 3 pages together because, you know, composition notebook pages are so thin. That way I would have some sturdy pages. And I thought I wouldn't work with a lot of, you know, thick modeling paste and other thick mediums in here, so I wouldn't make the book too chunky. I used my glue stick to glue these pages together, and it worked really well on these thin pages. So I really like that book, this book, and when I'm finished, I think I'm just gonna attach a ribbon. I'm gonna put a little label on here or something to cover that, but that's it. I put a ribbon and just leave it like that. I kind of like the look of it like this. So that is all I have for you today. I hope that was helpful and gave you some ideas of using your own books. Go to your bookshelf. Some of the books I use are right from my bookshelf, and then others that I used to think I had to go buy something. You don't necessarily have to do that to make an art journal for yourself. And if you have any questions, of course, leave a comment below, and if you could give me a thumbs up, that would be so great. I have a little small channel. I'm not trying to do anything spectacular, but just grow my little channel a bit, or just keep it going, really, basically. So thanks for watching. See you next time.